Black screen. No movement, no distraction, just a low, slow pulse of sound like something distant, heavy, inevitable. Then, a faint flicker. A face barely visible in the dark. Eyes open but empty. Not tired, just paused. A cut. A man sits in front of a laptop. The screen glows against his face, lighting up eyes that should be focused but aren't. The cursor blinks. 1 second, 2 seconds, 10. He doesn't type. His hands hover, then drop. He exhales, not from exhaustion, but from avoidance. Cut. A hand holds a phone, thumb scrolling, fast, endless, faces, reels, noise, information, distraction, all flooding in. Nothing stays. Nothing matters. Just movement to avoid stillness. Just noise to silence a thought that keeps trying to come back. Cut. Someone stands in front of an opportunity, a door, a call, a message unsent, a decision waiting. They hesitate, just for a moment. But that moment stretches, twists, turns into something heavier. And then they step back, not dramatically, not emotionally, quietly, almost invisibly, they turn away. And just like that, nothing happens. Silence again. Then the voice comes in, calm, cold, unapologetically direct. You think you're not ready, a pause. But the truth is, you're avoiding it. The words don't rush, they land, one by one, because deep down you already know this feeling. You've lived in it, sat with it, repeated it so many times it started to feel like logic, like reason, like truth. You tell yourself you need more time, more clarity, more confidence, more preparation. You convince yourself that waiting is smart, that holding back is strategic, that delaying action is somehow part of the process. But look closer, because what you call preparing often looks a lot like standing still. What you call thinking it through often feels like going in circles. And what you call not being ready is usually just fear wearing a mask that sounds intelligent enough for you to believe it. You don't say, I'm scared. You say, I'm not ready yet. You don't admit, I might fail. You say, I need more time to prepare. You don't confront the fact that stepping forward would force you to face uncertainty. So instead, you create a version of reality where waiting feels justified, where doing nothing feels responsible, where staying exactly where you are feels safe. Another cut, back to the laptop. The screen hasn't changed. The cursor is still blinking, but now it feels louder, almost accusatory, like it's waiting for something that never comes. Back to the phone, still scrolling, faster now, more desperate, because stopping would mean thinking, and thinking would mean facing what's being avoided. Back to the door, still there, still open, still waiting. But now it feels further away, even though nothing has changed because something has. Time. And time doesn't announce itself when it leaves. It doesn't warn you. It doesn't slow down because you're hesitating. It just moves. Quietly, relentlessly, indifferently. And every second you spend getting ready is a second where nothing actually changes. No progress, no growth, no movement, just the illusion of preparation. The voice returns. Lower now, sharper. It's not that you don't have time. A beat. It's not that you don't have ability. Another beat. The rhythm slows, not to comfort, but to make sure you feel every word. Because this is the part most people try to avoid. The part they skip. The part they mute, scroll past, or distract themselves away from. But you can't skip this. Not if you actually want the truth. Because the truth isn't loud. It isn't motivational. It isn't designed to make you feel better. It's designed to make you see clearly. And clarity isn't always comfortable. The cuts start coming faster now. The laptop, untouched. The phone, still scrolling. The opportunity, still ignored. Different people, same pattern. Different situations, same outcome. Not failure, not yet. Just inaction. And that's the most dangerous part. Because failure is visible, it teaches, it forces adaptation. But inaction, it feels harmless, it looks safe, it hides behind logic, and slowly it becomes a habit, a pattern, a default state. You stop noticing it, you stop questioning it, you start identifying with it. I'm just someone who takes time. I'm just someone who waits until things are clear. I'm just someone who doesn't rush. But underneath all of that is the same decision, repeated, quietly, daily, not to start, not to move, not to act. And the longer you stay there, the more not ready starts to feel real. The more your confidence erodes. Not because you lack ability, but because you never proved to yourself that you can move despite uncertainty. The more opportunities stop feeling like chances and start feeling like pressure, until eventually you don't even see them anymore. Another pause, longer this time. Let it sit. Because this is where most people expect a solution, a tip, a trick, something actionable, something easy to hold on to, but not yet. Because before anything changes, you have to stop lying to yourself. You have to strip away the comfortable explanations, the logical excuses, the well-constructed reasons that sound right, but lead nowhere. You have to see the pattern for what it is. Not hesitation, not preparation, avoidance, clean, simple, uncomfortable. The voice comes back one last time, clear, final. You're not waiting for the right moment, a breath. You're avoiding the moment that's already here. Silence, no music now, just space. And then the line that cuts through everything. No decoration, no softness, just truth. You're not getting ready. A fraction of a pause, just enough to let it hit. You're delaying. And then quieter, but heavier than everything before, using a reason that sounds good enough to keep you exactly where you are. You keep saying it in your head like it's the truth. I'm not ready yet. It sounds calm, reasonable, almost intelligent, like you've thought things through, like you're being careful, like you're waiting for the right moment instead of rushing into something unprepared. It doesn't sound like fear. It doesn't sound like weakness. It sounds like control. But look at it again. Slowly, honestly. Because that sentence, the one you repeat to yourself over and over, isn't protecting you, it's hiding you. I'm not ready yet. You say it when the opportunity shows up. You say it when the idea starts to feel real. You say it when action stops being theoretical and starts demanding something from you. And in that exact moment, when you could step forward, you step back instead. Not dramatically, not emotionally, quietly, rationally. You delay, and you tell yourself it's because you're not ready. But what does ready even mean? Think about it. Ready to do what? Ready according to who? Ready by what standard? More importantly, when does that moment actually arrive? Because if you're honest, it never does. There is always something missing. More knowledge you could gain, more confidence you could build, more time you could wait. So you stay where you are, not because you're incapable, but because you've convinced yourself that starting without perfection is dangerous. And that's the lie, the most dangerous kind, because it doesn't feel like a lie. It feels like logic. You tell yourself you're preparing. You tell yourself you're being patient. You tell yourself you're doing the smart thing. But if that were true, something would be moving forward. Something would be changing. And yet, nothing does. You're still in the same place, thinking about the same ideas, planning the same moves, imagining the same version of yourself who will eventually be ready enough to begin. But that version never comes, because not ready is not a phase. It's a loop. A loop that feels safe because it removes pressure. A loop that feels justified because it sounds responsible. A loop that keeps you comfortable while quietly stealing time from you. And here's the part you don't want to admit. You don't actually need more time to prepare. You need to face what happens when you stop hiding behind preparation. Because the moment you start, truly start, you lose control over the outcome. You might fail, you might look stupid, you might not be as good as you imagined. And that is what you're avoiding, not the action itself, but the possibility of being exposed. Exposed as imperfect, exposed as inexperienced, exposed as someone who doesn't have everything figured out. So instead of risking that, you build a shield not ready yet. It protects your identity. Because as long as you haven't started, you can still believe you're capable. As long as you haven't tried, you haven't failed. As long as you're preparing, you're still in control. But control without action is just stagnation. Another moment passes, another opportunity fades, another version of your life, one where you actually moved, disappears before it even begins. And you tell yourself it's okay, because you're not ready. But the truth doesn't care about how convincing your reasoning sounds. The truth is simple, brutal, clear. You are not waiting for readiness, you are waiting for certainty. And certainty does not exist before action. It never has. Every person you admire started with doubt. Every skill you respect was built through imperfection. Every result you want came from someone who moved before they felt ready, not after, before. Because readiness is not something you reach. It's something you create by stepping into discomfort. But that requires something most people avoid at all costs. It requires you to accept that you will not feel ready. Not at the beginning, not in the middle, not even sometimes at the end. And that's where the real decision happens. Not when everything is clear, not when confidence magically appears, but right there, in the moment where you feel uncertain and choose to act anyway. Most people don't. They step back, they delay, they wait, and they wrap that decision in words that sound acceptable. I just need a little more time. I'm almost there. I'll start when I feel ready. But almost stretches into weeks. Weeks turn into months. Months turn into years. And one day, you realize you've been standing still while convincing yourself you were moving forward. That's the cost of that sentence. Not immediate failure, not dramatic loss, just slow, invisible drift. Away from action, away from growth. Away from the life you keep thinking about, but never actually build. Because every time you say, I'm not ready yet, you reinforce a pattern where hesitation wins, a pattern where fear stays hidden, a pattern where your potential never gets tested and therefore never becomes real. And the longer you stay in that pattern, the harder it becomes to break it. Not because you're weaker, but because it starts to feel normal, comfortable, safe. You stop questioning it, you stop challenging it, you start living inside it. Until not ready isn't just something you say, it becomes who you are. The person who waits, the person who delays, the person who almost starts but never does. And that's why this lie is dangerous. Not because it's loud, but because it's quiet. It doesn't stop you all at once. It stops you slowly, decision by decision, moment by moment, until there's nothing left to stop because you never began. So strip it down. Remove the excuses, remove the logic, remove the comfortable wording that makes it easier to accept, and look at it for what it really is. Not preparation, not strategy. Fear, simple, human, understandable, but still fear. And fear only has power when you obey it. The moment you move, even slightly, you break it. Not completely, not permanently, but enough to prove something to yourself, that you don't need to feel ready to act. That action is what creates readiness. That movement is what builds clarity. That starting, imperfect, uncertain, uncomfortable, is the only way forward. Because not ready was never a condition you had to fix. It was a decision you kept making, over and over again, and you can stop making it right now, because the sentence you've been relying on, the one that sounded so reasonable, so safe, so justified, was never the truth. It was just a disguise, a well-constructed excuse, a shield you built to protect yourself from failure, but ended up using to protect yourself from growth. And once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to believing it means something it doesn't. You can't keep using it without knowing exactly what it's doing to you. So the next time that thought appears, I'm not ready yet. Don't accept it. Don't hide behind it. Don't let it decide for you. Because you already know what it really means. And you already know where it leads. Now the only question left is simple. Do you keep listening to it? Or do you finally move anyway? You keep waiting for a moment that doesn't exist. A moment where everything clicks, where the fear disappears, where your mind becomes quiet and certain, where you finally feel ready. But that moment never comes. Not because you're doing something wrong, not because you're missing something important, but because it was never real in the first place. No one is ready. Not at the beginning, not before the first step, not before the first risk. And yet, people still move. That's the part most people don't see. You look at someone successful, and you imagine confidence. You imagine clarity. You imagine a version of them that had everything figured out before they began. You assume they knew what they were doing, that they had a plan, that they had certainty. But what you don't see, what you're not supposed to see, is how unclear it actually was at the start. The hesitation, the doubt, the incomplete understanding. The fact that they were just as unsure as you are right now. They didn't start because they felt ready. They started because they accepted that they never would. And that changes everything. Because the difference between you and them is not talent, it's not intelligence, it's not timing, it's a decision. A simple, uncomfortable decision to move while uncertain. You're trying to eliminate doubt before you act. They acted and carried the doubt with them. You're trying to understand everything before you begin. They began and figured things out along the way. You're trying to feel confident before taking the first step. They took the first step and built confidence from the experience. That's the shift, not in ability, but in approach. Because clarity is not a requirement for action, it is a result of action. Think about that carefully. You don't gain clarity by thinking longer. You don't gain certainty by waiting more. You gain it by moving, by doing, by stepping into something you don't fully understand and learning from the process itself. But that's uncomfortable because it removes the illusion of control. When you wait, you feel safe. When you prepare endlessly, you feel responsible. When you delay, you feel like you're still in charge. But the moment you act, you expose yourself to reality. And reality doesn't follow your plans. It pushes back. It challenges you. It shows you what you didn't know you didn't know. And that's exactly why action matters. Because no amount of preparation can replace real experience. You can read, you can plan, you can think. But until you move, you're guessing. You're building theories without testing them. You're creating expectations without grounding them in reality. And deep down, you know that. That's why you hesitate. Not because you lack knowledge, but because you know that knowledge will be tested the moment you act. And you might not perform the way you imagined. You might fail. You might struggle. You might realize you're not as ready as you hoped. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. That's the only way anyone becomes ready. Not before action, through it. Every person who has ever built something meaningful started with incomplete information. They didn't know the full path. They didn't have every answer. They didn't feel fully prepared. They had a direction, and even that wasn't always clear. But they moved anyway, and with each step, they adjusted. They learned, they improved. Not because they were special, but because they were willing to act while uncertain. That's it. No secret formula, no hidden advantage, just movement. Consistent, imperfect, sometimes uncomfortable movement. And over time, that movement created something you mistake for readiness, confidence, clarity, skill. But those things didn't exist at the start. They were built, layer by layer, through action. You're trying to build them before you begin. And that's why you're stuck. Because you're chasing a result without doing the process that creates it. It's like trying to learn how to swim without ever entering the water. You can study techniques, you can watch others, you can understand the theory perfectly. But until you jump in, you don't actually know how to swim. And the first time you do, it won't be smooth, it won't be controlled, it won't like the version you imagined. But that doesn't mean you weren't ready. It means you just started. And starting is messy, uncertain, uncomfortable. That's not a sign to stop. That's the process working exactly as it should. But most people misinterpret that discomfort. They feel it and assume it means they made a mistake, that they jumped too early, that they should go back, that they need more time to prepare, so they retreat, back into thinking, back into planning, back into waiting, and the cycle repeats. But the ones who move forward, they don't interpret discomfort as failure. They see it as proof of progress. Because discomfort only appears when you step outside what you already know. And growth only happens there, not in certainty, not in safety, not in waiting, but in motion, in risk, in action taken before you feel completely ready. That's the reality, not glamorous, not easy, not comforting, but real. And once you understand it, you stop waiting for a feeling that will never come. You stop trying to prepare for every possible outcome. You stop convincing yourself that one more day, one more week, one more phase of thinking will finally make things clear. Because you see the pattern. Waiting doesn't create readiness. Action does. Slowly, imperfectly, unpredictably, but consistently. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner everything changes. Not because things become easier, but because you stop resisting the reality of how progress actually works. You stop trying to control the unknown and start navigating it instead. One step at a time, without guarantees, without perfect clarity, without the comfort you thought you needed. Because now you understand something most people spend years avoiding. You don't need to be ready to begin. You become ready by beginning. And the longer you wait for readiness, the longer you stay exactly where you are. So drop the illusion. Let go of the idea that there's a perfect moment waiting for you somewhere in the future. Because there isn't. There is only this moment. Unclear, imperfect, uncertain, and still enough. Enough to take one step. Enough to move forward. Enough to begin. Because no one, not a single person, walks into anything meaningful with complete preparation. They walk in with doubt, with gaps in knowledge, with questions they can't answer yet, and they figure it out by doing. That's the truth. Simple, uncomfortable, unavoidable. No one enters the game perfectly prepared. They enter it and become prepared along the way. You think the problem is discipline. You think you're lazy. You think you lack motivation. You think something is wrong with you, something missing, something weaker than other people. But that's not what's happening. You're not broken. You're not uniquely flawed. You're doing exactly what your brain was designed to do. Avoid pain. That's it. Strip away the complexity, the overthinking, the self-judgment, and what you're left with is something very simple, very human, and very predictable. Your brain is trying to protect you, not help you grow, not push you forward, not turn you into your highest potential. Protect you. And protection doesn't look like action. It looks like hesitation. It looks like delay. It looks like you sitting in front of something you know you should do and finding a reason not to do it yet. Because from your brain's perspective, action is risk. And risk means uncertainty. And uncertainty feels like danger. It doesn't matter if the danger is real. It doesn't matter if the consequences are actually life-threatening. Your brain doesn't make that distinction very well. To it, emotional discomfort can feel just as threatening as physical harm. Embarrassment, failure, rejection, looking stupid. These aren't just ideas. To your brain, they are signals. Signals that say, stay where you are, don't move, avoid this. And when those signals activate, you don't feel them as commands. You feel them as thoughts. I'll do it later. I need more time. I'm not ready yet. It feels logical, but it's not logic. It's protection, automatic, instant, unquestioned. You don't sit down and consciously decide to avoid action. It happens before that. The discomfort appears, subtle at first, a tightness in your chest, a slight resistance in your mind, a quiet urge to do something else, and before you even realize it, you've already moved away from the thing that matters. You check your phone, you open another tab, you tell yourself you'll come back to it later. And just like that, the threat is gone, the discomfort fades, and your brain rewards you for it. It gives you relief, that small, almost invisible feeling of better. And that's how the pattern forms. Action, discomfort, avoidance, relief. Over and over again, until avoidance becomes your default. Not because you chose it, but because your brain learned that it works. It keeps you safe. Safe from failure, safe from judgment, safe from anything that might challenge your current identity. But here's the cost. Safety comes at the expense of growth, because everything that could move your life forward lives on the other side of discomfort, and your brain is constantly pulling you away from it. Not maliciously, not because it wants you to fail, but because it doesn't understand the difference between discomfort that harms you and discomfort that builds you. To your brain, it's all the same. Pain is pain, and the goal is always the same: avoid it. So when you hesitate, when you delay, when you tell yourself you'll do it tomorrow instead of today, that's not laziness. That's programming. Deep, biological, automatic programming. And unless you see it clearly, you'll keep obeying it without even realizing it. You'll keep mistaking avoidance for a lack of discipline. You'll keep blaming yourself for something that feels personal, when in reality, it's mechanical, predictable, universal. Everyone feels it. The difference is not who experiences resistance, it's who acts despite it. Because the people who move forward, they don't wait for the discomfort to disappear. They expect it, they recognize it, and most importantly, they don't trust it. They understand that the voice telling them to wait is not always telling the truth. It's just trying to keep things familiar. And familiar doesn't mean better, it just means known. So instead of obeying that instinct, they override it. Not perfectly, not every time, but enough to break the pattern. They feel the resistance and move anyway. They notice the urge to avoid and act anyway. They experience the discomfort and stay with it instead of escaping it. And something changes when they do that. The discomfort doesn't disappear immediately, but it loses its authority. It stops controlling the decision, because now there's a new pattern forming. Discomfort, action, progress. And over time, that becomes the new default. Not comfort, but movement despite discomfort. And that's where real discipline begins. Not in forcing yourself to feel motivated, not in waiting until things feel easy, but in understanding what your brain is doing and choosing not to follow it blindly. Because if you do, you will stay exactly where you are. Not because you can't move forward, but because every time you try, your brain will pull you back into safety, into familiarity, into stillness. And it will feel right. It will feel justified. It will feel like the smart decision. But it isn't. It's just the easier one. And easy rarely leads anywhere worth going. So the next time you feel that resistance, that quiet pull to delay, to avoid, to step back, don't label it as laziness. Don't turn it into an identity. See it for what it is, a signal, a reflex, a piece of programming designed to protect you from discomfort. And then ask yourself something simple. Is this discomfort actually dangerous, or is it just unfamiliar? Because if it's unfamiliar, that's exactly where you need to go. That's exactly where growth is waiting. Not in comfort, not in safety, but in the space your brain is trying so hard to keep you away from. And once you understand that, everything shifts. You stop fighting yourself. You stop expecting it to feel easy. You stop waiting for motivation to magically appear, and you start moving, even when your brain tells you not to. Because now you know something most people ignore. You're not lazy. You're not incapable. You're not missing discipline. You're just following a system that was never designed to make you grow. It was designed to keep you safe. And if you want more than safety, if you want progress, change, movement, you have to step outside that system deliberately, repeatedly, uncomfortably, because that's the only way forward. You're not lazy, you're programmed to avoid pain. And once you see that clearly, you stop obeying it. You think waiting makes you stronger. You tell yourself you're preparing, that you're building confidence, that one more day, one more week, one more phase of thinking will somehow make you more capable when the moment finally comes. But the opposite is happening. Every time you wait, you get weaker. Not physically, not visibly, but internally, quietly, in a way that's hard to notice until it becomes who you are. Because confidence is not built in stillness, it's built in action. And when you remove action, you remove the very thing that creates belief in yourself. So what fills that space instead? Doubt. Slow at first, almost invisible. You delay something once, nothing changes. You delay it again, still feels fine. But something small starts to shift. A question appears, can I actually do this? You ignore it. You tell yourself it's just timing, just not the right moment yet. But then you delay again. And that question gets louder. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I need more time. And now it's no longer just a thought. It's becoming a belief. Because every action you take or don't take is teaching your brain something. Every time you move forward, you teach yourself, I can handle this. But every time you hesitate, every time you avoid, every time you say later instead of now, you teach yourself something else. Something far more dangerous. I can't. Not directly, not consciously, but through repetition, through pattern, through behavior that reinforces itself over time. And the more you repeat that pattern, the more real it feels. Because your brain doesn't just listen to what you say, it watches what you do. You can tell yourself you're capable all day long. You can listen to motivation, read books, think positively. But if your actions keep saying, I won't start, that becomes the truth your brain believes. And once that belief forms, everything changes. You don't just hesitate because you're unsure. You hesitate because you've trained yourself to expect hesitation. You've created a version of yourself that delays, a version of yourself that waits, a version of yourself that almost starts, but never fully commits. And that version feels real because it's backed by evidence. Evidence you created, moment by moment, decision by decision, every time you chose to wait. And now when you finally try to move, you feel resistance that's stronger than before. Not because the task got harder, but because your belief in yourself got weaker. You start overthinking more. You start doubting faster. You start questioning things you wouldn't have questioned before. And then comes the worst part. Fear. Because hesitation doesn't just create doubt, it amplifies it. The longer you wait, the bigger the thing becomes in your mind. What was once a simple action turns into something heavy, intimidating, overwhelming. You start imagining everything that could go wrong, every possible failure, every worst-case scenario, every version of yourself falling short. And now, it's not just I'm not ready, it's what if I can't do it at all? That's how the cycle locks in. Delay, doubt, fear, more delay, over and over again. And each time it repeats, it gets stronger, more automatic, more convincing, until one day you're not even consciously deciding to wait anymore. You just do. It becomes instinct, a reflex, a default response to anything that requires effort, risk, or uncertainty. And from the outside, it looks like laziness. But from the inside, it feels like inability, like something inside you is holding you back, and you can't quite explain why. But now you can. Because it's not random, it's trained. You trained it. Every time you chose comfort over action, every time you avoided discomfort instead of stepping into it. Every time you told yourself later and believed it. You weren't just delaying a task, you were shaping your identity, becoming someone who doesn't act. And identity is powerful. Because once you believe this is who I am, you stop fighting it, you stop questioning it, you start living it. I'm just not consistent. I'm just not disciplined. I'm just not that type of person. But those aren't facts. They're conclusions drawn from repeated behavior, and behavior can change. But only if you see the cost of keeping it the same. Because the cost is not just lost time, it's lost trust in yourself. And once that trust is gone, everything becomes harder. Starting becomes harder. Committing becomes harder. Believing becomes harder. Not because you lack ability, but because you've taught yourself over and over again that you won't follow through. And your brain remembers that. It expects it. So even when you want to change, there's a voice inside you saying, you've tried before, you didn't finish, you stopped last time, and that voice feels real. Because it is. It's built on your own past actions. That's why waiting is dangerous. Not because of what you lose externally, but because of what you lose internally. Your confidence, your self-trust, your belief that when you say you'll do something, you actually will. And without that, nothing else matters. Not talent, not knowledge, not opportunity, because none of it gets used. So understand this clearly. Waiting is not neutral. It's not harmless. It's not just taking your time. It's actively shaping who you become, either into someone who acts or someone who hesitates. And every delay pushes you further in one direction. So the next time you feel the urge to wait, don't just think about the task. Think about what you're reinforcing. Think about the version of yourself you're building. Because that's what's really at stake. Not the outcome, not the result, but the pattern, the identity, the belief system you carry forward into every future decision. And if you keep choosing delay, that belief will only get stronger, until starting feels impossible, until fear feels permanent, until not ready feels like the truth. But it never was. It was learned. And what's learned can be unlearned, but only through action, only by breaking the pattern, only by doing the thing you've been avoiding, even when it feels uncomfortable, especially when it feels uncomfortable, because that's how you reverse the cycle. Action, small win, slight confidence, more action. It starts small, almost insignificant, but it builds. And over time, it replaces everything you've been reinforcing up until now. But it begins with a single decision: to stop waiting, to stop telling yourself later, to stop feeding the pattern that's been weakening you. Because every time you delay, you are teaching yourself something. And if you don't change that lesson, it will define you. Mỗi lần bạn trì hoãn, bạn đang dạy bản thân rằng bạn không thể. You've been waiting to feel ready before you move, waiting for clarity, waiting for confidence, waiting for that moment where everything finally makes sense. But that's not how it works. Clarity does not come first. Action does. And everything you've been chasing, confidence, direction, certainty, is built on the other side of movement, not before it. You don't think your way into readiness. You act your way into it. That's the part you've been getting backwards. Because it feels logical to prepare first, to understand everything, to eliminate doubt before you begin. It feels responsible, but it keeps you stuck. Because the things you're waiting for cannot exist without action. You want clarity, but clarity comes from feedback. You want confidence, but confidence comes from experience. You want certainty, but certainty comes from repetition. And none of those happen in your head. They happen in reality. Through doing, through trying, through stepping into something you don't fully understand yet. That's where the shift happens. Because the moment you act, even imperfectly, something changes. The unknown becomes slightly known. The fear becomes slightly smaller. The path becomes slightly clearer. Not completely, but enough. Enough to take the next step, and then the next, and then the next. That's how readiness is built. Not in a single moment, but in layers. Action by action. You start with almost nothing. No certainty, no full plan, no guarantee, just a direction. And even that feels unstable. But you move anyway. And the first attempt isn't clean. It's messy, awkward, uncertain. You hesitate, you second guess, you don't perform the way you imagined. And for a moment, it feels like proof that you weren't ready, that you should have waited longer, that you should have prepared more. But that's not what it means. It means you've entered the process. And the process is where everything is built. Because now, you're no longer guessing. You're learning, directly, through experience that no amount of thinking could ever replace. You see what works, you see what doesn't. You understand things in a way that thinking alone could never give you. And with that understanding comes adjustment. Small at first, you refine something. You change your approach, you try again, and the second attempt is slightly better. Not perfect, but better. And that's enough, because progress doesn't require perfection, it requires movement, and movement creates momentum. Momentum reduces resistance, and reduced resistance makes action easier the next time. That's the chain. That's how readiness is built. Not by waiting, but by engaging, by stepping into the unknown and letting reality teach you what you need to know. But most people never reach that point because they stop too early. They expect the first step to feel right. They expect the first attempt to look good. They expect clarity to show up immediately. And when it doesn't, they retreat, back into thinking, back into planning, back into waiting, and the cycle resets. But the ones who move forward, they don't expect the beginning to feel clear. They expect confusion. They expect mistakes. They expect discomfort. And because they expect it, they don't interpret it as failure. They see it as progress, because every moment of uncertainty is information. Every mistake is data. Every attempt is feedback. And feedback is what creates clarity. Not thinking, not waiting, not imagining, doing. That's why action matters, because it connects you to reality, and reality shows you what's actually true, not what you think might be true. That's where your real growth happens, not in your mind, but in your interaction with the world, where your assumptions are tested, where your limits are challenged, where your abilities are developed, and none of that happens if you stay still. So the question isn't, am I ready? It's, am I willing to start without being ready? Because that's the only way readiness is ever created. Not before the first step, but because of it. You don't become confident, then act. You act and become confident. You don't gain clarity, then move. You move and gain clarity. You don't eliminate fear, then begin. You begin. And reduce fear over time. That's the reversal, the shift that changes everything. Because once you understand this, you stop waiting for a feeling and start building a result. You stop asking for certainty and start creating it, piece by piece, through action. And it doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to exist, a step, a decision, a moment where you move instead of wait. That's enough to start the process, because once you move, everything else begins to align. Not instantly, not magically, but gradually, through repetition, through consistency, through showing up again and again, even when it still feels unclear. Because clarity is not a starting point, it's a result, and results are earned through action, not imagined through thought. So stop trying to solve everything before you begin. Stop trying to feel ready before you act. Stop trying to eliminate uncertainty before you move. Because that's not preparation, that's avoidance. And it keeps you in the same place. Instead, take one step, even if it feels small, even if it feels imperfect, even if it feels uncertain, because that step does something thinking never will. It moves you forward. And once you move, you're no longer stuck in possibility. You're in reality, where things change, where things grow, where you become the person you've been waiting to be. Not because you felt ready, but because you started anyway. And in that process, you created the very readiness you thought you needed first. Sự rõ ràng không đến trước hành động, nó đến sau. You're still waiting, waiting for the right moment, waiting for the right mood, waiting for something to shift inside you so action finally feels easy, natural, undeniable. But nothing is coming. And deep down, you know that. You've been here before, sitting with the same thoughts, repeating the same promises, telling yourself the same story, soon, not yet, just a little more time. And every time you say it, it feels reasonable. Because it sounds like patience. It sounds like strategy. It sounds like control. But strip away the language and look at the reality. Nothing is changing. Not your situation, not your direction, not your life, just time. Time is the only thing moving forward, and it's not waiting for you. You are waiting for it. Waiting for a version of it that doesn't exist. A perfect moment. A moment where everything aligns, where your fear disappears, where your motivation is strong enough to carry you through without resistance. But that moment is a lie. It has always been a lie. There is no perfect timing. There is no day where everything suddenly feels right, because life doesn't organize itself around your comfort. It doesn't slow down because you're uncertain. It doesn't pause while you figure things out. It keeps moving, indifferently, relentlessly, and while you're waiting for the right time, that time is passing. Quietly, without warning, without announcement, one day becomes another, another becomes a week becomes a year. And suddenly, you look back and realize you've been preparing for a life you never actually started. That's the first truth. There is no perfect moment, only the moment you keep refusing to use. And then there's the second illusion. Motivation. You think you need it. You think you're supposed to feel driven, inspired, energized before you act. Like something inside you should push you forward naturally. But that feeling is temporary, unstable, unreliable. It comes and goes without asking you. And if you build your actions on something that unstable, you will always be inconsistent. Because the moment motivation fades, so do you. And it always fades. That's its nature. It was never designed to sustain effort. It was designed to spark it. But you've been waiting for it to carry you. And when it doesn't, you stop. You delay. You tell yourself you'll try again when it comes back. But it never stays long enough. So you stay stuck in cycles, short bursts of effort, followed by long stretches of nothing. And each time, you feel like you're starting over. Because you are. That's the second truth. There is no permanent motivation, only discipline, only action taken when you don't feel like it, only movement that continues, even when the emotion is gone. And then comes the hardest truth, the one most people avoid completely. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to appear at the right moment and push you forward. No one is going to hand you clarity, or confidence, or direction. No one is going to care enough about your life to live it for you. Not your friends, not your family, not the people you admire. They have their own lives, their own problems, their own struggles. And while you're waiting, they're moving. Not perfectly, but consistently. And that's why their lives change, while yours stays the same. Because they're not waiting for someone else to initiate the process. They are the process. And you're not. Not yet. Because you're still expecting something external to trigger your internal change. A moment, a feeling, a push, something, anything. But nothing is coming, and the longer you wait, the more you start to feel stuck. Not because you are incapable, but because you've built a habit of inaction so strong. That action now feels unnatural, heavy, difficult, almost impossible, and then you say it again, I just need more time. But time is not what you need. Time is what you're losing. Every second you spend waiting is a second your life is moving forward without you. And it doesn't pause to ask if you're ready. It doesn't rewind because you hesitated. It just goes, with or without your participation. And that's the part that should hit you. Not gently, not softly, but directly. You are not preparing for your life. You are postponing it. You are standing on the edge of action and convincing yourself that waiting is progress. When it's not. It's delay. Pure, simple delay. Wrapped in logic, protected by excuses, and reinforced by habit. You wait. A pause, waiting for the right moment. Another pause, waiting for the right feeling. The silence stretches, long enough to feel uncomfortable, long enough to recognize yourself in it. And then, the truth lands. Hard, unavoidable, unfiltered. But your life is moving while you're getting ready. No emotion, no exaggeration, just reality. Because nothing you've been waiting for will come before you act. Not clarity, not confidence, not certainty, and definitely not rescue. If something is going to change, it has to start with you. Not tomorrow, not later, not when it feels better, now, in this exact moment, unclear, uncomfortable, imperfect, real. Because this is the only moment you actually have. Everything else is an excuse to avoid it.